As friars, we tend to rise at midnight for our first prayers, remembering that the Lord may come at any time. And so we rise at midnight to pray the office of readings. Just in case the Lord comes at midnight, we're ready. I remember one time getting up at 11:50 and trying to get the sleep out of my eyes to get down to chapel, and one of the younger brothers comes rushing past me with this happy face. He goes, "Hurry up, Jesus might be coming back." I'm like, "Ooh, I hate you." It's interesting what our Lord says here, because we do not know the day or the hour of his return. We don't know what time he will come, but we know for a fact he will. There are two things we can be sure about. One, that he will come back. Two, we will go to him. Which comes first, we don't know. We'll either go to him through death, or he'll come to us when we're still alive. It's going to be one of the two. We can be sure of those two things. Naturally, we know that we all shall die. Supernaturally, by faith, we know that he will come back as he promised. And so it is important for us always to be ready for either of those two events, either his return or our return to him. We don't know the day or the hour of our death, nor do we know the day or the hour of his coming back. However, we should always be ready, as our Lord says, "Gird your loins and light your lamps." This sense of girding your loins, lighting your lamps is a sense of preparation. Girding the loins is a sense of being up and ready to move, ready to go. And the lighting of the lamps is a symbol of faith. And so that readiness to be able to stand before God with the light of faith at the moment of death or at our Lord's second return. It's amazing how much fear we are all living in right now with this COVID-19 thingamajiggy out there. And I think the reason for the fear and the anxiety over all of it is because we do fear death. In some sense, it's natural for us to fear death. And we should be cautious and careful. We don't want to get it. We don't want to spread it. We don't want to be the cause of anyone else's death. But part of the reason why we're so in fear is because we fear death, but most people no longer fear God. They're fearing death, but they don't have the reverential fear of God. In other words, we fear that loss of life here on earth because we are unsure, in a lack of faith, of the eternity of life after death. To put it quite plainly, we've lost our faith that this world is not all there is. The time's going to come either by death or by the second coming when we shall pass before him. It's a reality that we all have to manage in life. But with the understanding of supernatural faith, if we live in God's grace, we die in God's grace, we have no fear of death. We don't need to be afraid of it. Our Lord destroyed it. He gave us the grace of baptism. He gave us sanctifying grace. If we maintain that relationship with him by living in the state of grace, or if falling out of the state of grace, we go to confession, get back into the state of grace. If we persevere in that state of grace and die in that state of grace, we don't fear death. We have supernatural faith. We know that this world is not the end. The end is eternity in God if we persevere with him. This morning I was just going to give a short homily to, and for me, short is long for somebody else, but just to reflect upon the beauty of the reality of being free of fear in the knowledge of our faith. Being free of fear in the grasping of the gift of living and dying in the sanctifying grace of God. We should do everything possible to maintain our life in grace, and falling away through sin, to return to it immediately, but to always keep our eyes fixed on the truth that we are destined for more than this life. And so we shouldn't live in the shadow of the fear of death, but we should always live in the light of the coming of Christ. Either his coming to us or us going to him. We don't know the day or the hour. It's not for us to choose. It's for the Lord. And so we should be living in joyful expectation of being able to see our Lord face to face, and God willing, hearing the words that all of us wish and long to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of my Father, prepared for you since the foundation of the world. Those are the words we live to hear. May God bless you, and Merry Christmas.